Good morning. So this morning I'm having quite a few thoughts. Um, so I was walking through the valley. I took a little bit of a different route this morning to kind of change scenery a little bit. And as I'm going, there's these trees. They have these little like domim, they're called in Israel, and they have these they're like little apple things. And I noticed that every single tree that I eat from has a little bit of a different flavor to it. So I start searching out the trees. Every tree I stop to see, what flavor does this have? It becomes kind of like a game. And I started noticing that I was even going out of my way and I came off trail. That's how I arrived where I am now. I'll turn it around and show you where I'm at. So I'm just kind of found a place in the shade and I came from there up on the side of this mountain. I'm going to hike up pretty soon. There's a cave up there. But I was just kind of letting the trees lead me as I go. And I was thinking to myself, it's kind of like people. Every single person that you meet has a different flavor to them, a different personality, a little bit of a different taste to them, something else that is coming and being expressed through them. They've had different life experiences, which make up their being and their perception and the way that they are and the way that they perceive the world to be. And every single person that we meet has something to teach us through their perception. And going on this thought process, I started, because we're all a human network, we are all being influenced and influencers. So we are constantly being influenced and influencing our surroundings. And that's how a collective consciousness is made. So by people, generation after generation after generation, year after year after year, are bouncing information off of each other, and it goes in like a circular, in a way of like circular. And we are by nature, we are community beings. It's just like the apes and just like the monkeys and just like the chimpanzees. We are a social being. In order for us to expand, we need these external mirrors. We need interactions with others, which feeds our being and enriches our life, brings more substance into our life. And then it's like regurgitated. Is that a word? Like where it's information that is reprocessed and reprocessed and reprocessed. And over thousands of years, this information, it becomes like a collective consciousness, like a collective consensus of the way, it's recycled information over and over and over. And as long as we're in the matrix or in the core of society and we don't remove ourselves, we allow ourselves to be subconsciously programmed by these programs that keep running and keep running and keep running. But it's kind of like, that game when you're a kid and you're sitting in a circle and you say something you like whisper something and it goes around the whole circle and you see where it started and where it ended are two completely different things that have completely different meanings because every human filter that it went through, the person conceived it and then filtered it through them in how they conceived it. And each person uses different words for different, and words are like archetypes. Words have meaning attached to them for each person. It could be, uh, uh, um, depending on how that person was conditioned or the life conditions of that person or how that person conceives the world to be, the word has a little bit of a different meaning and they substitute it with this word, which has a different meaning for the next person on the line. It keeps on going down the line until it's changed. And that's kind of like society is when you just continuously regurgitate, like reuse the same information over and over and over. It's like this big ball of consensus of information that everybody is repeating and reflecting back to each other, back and forth until it becomes something that is almost unrecognizable from what it was when it started 2000 or however long ago it started, generations and generations and generations ago. And that is how humanity has come into this slumber, into this, there's a certain way that you have to be, and there is a consensus around it. It's like the matrix. There's a consensus around the way that you have to be. You have to run after money. And when you start awakening, when you start on this awakening process and you start waking up, you start realizing, wait a minute, there's so many different ways of being and that humanity now is very separated from our own instincts as humans, and we're very, we're very far away from our original, even disconnected from nature. We're disconnected from the pain of the animals. We're disconnected from where our food comes from. I've met so many different people that don't know, including myself in some things, don't know the seasons of the fruits. When this season is or when that season. That we so highly, have tampered with nature, that we almost have, that it's like we've taken over God's role. It's like we've taken over, that we think that we're smarter than nature, which we know that we're not. We know that we're not. So why are we tampering with divinity? Why are we tampering with life, with what is divine, with I mean, you can look and see how disconnected we are from nature in the simplest of things. Where we wear shoes. Okay, I get shoes. I'm not, but we are disconnecting ourselves with a sheet of plastic from the ground that we walk on. And I notice that when I go out into nature, let's say I go out to the spring or I go to the beach, or when I'm without shoes, I'm very conscious, conscious. I'm very aware of where I'm stepping, what I'm doing, where I put my feet. I see, little bugs and I avoid them. When I have shoes on, I'm like a elephant in a china shop. Chuck, 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 chuck. I have no regishut, is like sensitivity to my surroundings. I'm disconnected from my surroundings. Um, and so like there's this collective consciousness of people that are in this like slumber, that are kind of sleepwalking and not asking questions. It's like we were programmed from when we were really little, like this is the way it is. You need to think like this. You go to school, you get programmed this, and you are also programmed not to ask questions. Many of us are programmed, don't ask questions that are out of the box. Don't ask questions that threaten. Oh, it's a cow. It looked like, I thought it was a massive boar. um, you don't ask questions. We are taught, because of how adults treated us when we asked harsh questions, which threatened their belief system because they didn't know exactly how to answer it. Because when you are in that slumber, you don't really have the answers because you're away from your nature. You're away from your own self-being and finding the higayon is higayon. When you have two languages, so sometimes the word comes in the one language, it doesn't come in the other language. The Like it doesn't, not all things make sense to you, especially when the consensus is so far away from our human nature, from the way that we naturally are. Running after money, you're running after substance. By nature, we run after fruit. We run after, the things that are tangible. But money you can't eat. It's like we've built this entity, this god. Now I understand the concept of money. This isn't the, I'm not, but by nature, the chimpanzees, if you offer them an apple or you offer them a dollar bill, they're going to choose the apple every single time because the dollar bill is not tangible. It's something that we made up, just like a minus is something that we made up, the deficit of something. Because in the universe, there only is positive. There is no under minus. There's down to zero. Maybe there's an apple or there isn't an apple, but there isn't minus apples. Now I owe you apples. Or you wouldn't come to the tree and say, okay, this year you only gave me 100 apples. Next year you're going to owe me, the deficit of what you didn't make up for this year. Um, So there is a kind of missense. I know that's not really a word, but it's like there's something that is not sensible in the way that humanity has evolved. And we've gotten to a point where we are so far disconnected. It's gotten so out of balance from where our true nature is, that there is a awakening happening all over the world, because by nature we are creatures that seek nature, seek our freedom. We want freedom of choice, freedom of thought. And because we're so far under this, like the thumb of the matrix, other people controlling us, we're constantly under pressure. It's like we're in this pressure cooker, and we're in this pressure cooker with rules and regulations that don't suit our nature, the way that we were designed as creatures to be. And so, under all of this pressure, it's kind of like popcorn. In the end, you just kind of go plunk, and then you come out, you wake up. Something in there is so out of whack with your being that your inner being can't take it anymore. And your inner being is like, okay, wait a minute, there's something more. And then you start waking up. And during this waking up process, all of a sudden, the further you get away from the consensus way, it starts with like an ignition. It can either be a very, it's a shift. You start shifting. You start realizing one thing leads to another, one thing leads to another, one thought leads to another, and you start seeing more and more. The more you see, the quicker you see, the more you see. It's like this spiral. You start spiraling out of the matrix. And as a social animal, we are connected to everybody around us. We are in constant interaction. Whether our interaction is disconnecting, we are always in some sort of interaction. Otherwise, we go into depression. And so what society does nowadays is kind of like divide each. It used to be thousands of years ago, and in some African places, we used to live in tribes, and everybody would have a purpose in the tribe. The children would learn from the adults, and everybody had a place, and the old people would help take care of the children, help take care. They were the wise ones, and but everybody had a place and everybody had a purpose. And nowadays, the way that the Western society is built is that once you're old, you're like thrown out of society. You're obsolete. You can't. You're not making money. You're not adding to, and so it really takes a whole generation and kind of um, diminishes their worth. And children are put into school so that they can learn how to be productive in the main portion of their life. And then as adults, we're expected just to be like work machines to work the system and pay for the system. And we are the system's motor, like the powerhouse of the system. And we have to keep running in order to maintain whatever life that it is that we have created within the matrix. And it's pretty much anymore, you can't really disconnect. You have to keep going, keep going. We're the only animal that is born into almost like slavery. As soon as we're born, we have to um, um, we're like enslaved into the system. We have to get up every morning and keep that going, because what is the alternative? And and um see, we also, the tribe, it's like we have been separated. So now each family has to do what an entire tribe would have done 2,000 years ago. An entire tribe would have, there would have been people out doing the hunting and gathering, and there would have been people preparing the meals, and there would have been people taking care of the children, and there would have been, everybody would have had some kind of something that they contributed to the whole. And as society has continued on, we each become separate. And it's like separation and conquer. And so each family is left to fend for themselves, and each family has to become like this individual tribe, this individual machine that does the providing, the cleaning, the cooking, the everything done. And and as a single mother, then everything is on one person pretty much. The having to make ends meet, make the rent, clean the house, cook the meals, um, all of that. Help the kids with their schoolwork, get them out to school. All of that is like put onto one person, which is not natural, not our natural way. I'm not, this isn't let's complain kind of video. I'm just trying to show uh, um, how far we have come in this consensus and this gradual reflecting back and forth. It's like you get into this pool, right? And the water keeps going around in the pool for thousands of years. It's pretty much the same water. Every once in a while, people will come in from other countries and bring their own perspectives and their own different ways of being into the whole, and then it'll affect the whole a little bit. Or it's like when if you're in the United States and then there's a whole bunch of immigration that come from a different part of the world, it kind of it will alter the entire consciousness of the states, and everything will start shifting a little bit into that direction. But it's this massive shift altogether. One thing I noticed, and this is kind of relevant to this point, is when you let's say you go and travel. When I go and travel somewhere by myself, all the decisions, everything happens really quick. I go this here, I go there, I go to this, I go to that place, and everything happens really fast. When I go with somebody else, it's like two people. So it happens a little bit slower. There's two people that have to have, that have to make the decision together. So we decide together, we're going to go over there, and everything happens a little bit slower. When it's three people, then it even happens slower. We're going, every decision takes longer. It takes longer to get going. You have to wait for everybody to be ready. And the more people that you go with, the longer everything takes, and you might only see one place in a day. And that is kind of like it is in society. The society shifts really slow. And then when you have people that are awakening within the society, and they're coming out of society, things start happening. Things in your spiritual awakening start happening really quick, because you're a lone wolf. You're already out there, um, making the change on your own. You are um, like a beacon of light. You are a leader. You are out on the edge of the consciousness. You are in the forerunner. And because we are all connected, as you start lifting out of the consensus and you start realizing, you start waking up and you start seeing there's other ways of being. I can do my life this way. I can do my life that way. I can believe whatever I believe. Nobody can come into my mind and make me believe things that I don't believe. Um, which is something that the controlling is something that society does now. Religions have done for thousands of years. Come in and, okay, now this religion is illegal. Now you're going to have to believe this. Now, this is the right way to believe. That in itself is kind of desperate. If you have a religion that is true, or you have a truth, then wouldn't you just present your truth and trust the other to be able to see the truth, especially if you are a way leader. So as you start rising out of the matrix, and as you become like this beacon, you start, it's like we are all attached. We are all connected on this magnetic field. It's like you're coming out of that dimension into a new dimension. And as you rise, you pull others with you as a beacon, as a way shower, as a light. Everybody wants to be free. Everybody that is in this matrix that are asleep, they're lost, because it's inherent that they're lost. because there is this one way of being, and we're each individual, just like I said about the fruit. Every single person has a different flavor. Every single person has a different nature to them, a different gift that they've come to give the world, a different way of speaking the truth, a different way of processing the universe through them. And so there is no one way for all. And what happens in society, there is like a one way. Yeah, I understand that this isn't a given. This isn't all inclusive. There are many different facets to it and many different ways of being within that way, within the matrix. I understand that. But in order to make a point, you do have to kind of take a cloud and bring it down into a firm thought so that it can be passed on into words. It's like taking these massive thoughts and bringing them into one little streamline of words so that the point can be made. So it's not an absolute. Um, but it is a way of looking at things. So as each of us are individual, there is no one way for us to be. It's like in school, we come in and there's about this much knowledge that they teach us, this much knowledge in an endless spectrum of knowledge. And within this much knowledge, they're grading our children and telling them, okay, you're okay and you're not okay, and you're going to get a grade of, you're only about 80%. And it's detrimental to our children's minds, but it's also a way, knowingly or unknowingly, to keep everybody down, to keep everybody in this insecurity, a way of mind controlling. You're okay, you're not okay. That's so funny. There's a big cow down there and the dogs are chasing. I'll show you. They were just barking at it and it turned around to see, the dogs are over there. It turned around to like butt heads with them. It was cute. It's kind of like you shake a fly off of you or something. It turned around and went like that, and they both took off running in the other direction. They know what's good for them. They don't want to deal with those big horns. Their instincts are spot on. And it's just like us. If we let go, our instincts will be spot on. But we're so far conditioned into this way of thinking that many of us don't even realize it. And so as we rise out of the matrix, see, everybody is lost. They're kind of lost. Like, I have to be this way. I have to be that way. I have to do this according to society to be acceptable. I have to, I have to make a certain amount of money. Otherwise, I'm not worth anything, or I can't provide for my family. Or there's so much pressure that many, many people don't even have the time. When you are lost and shaking and your mind is shaking and you begin to grade yourself. Am I okay? Am I not okay? And maybe I should be more like this, or in school I was taught that I should be like this, or that person has more than me, so they're more worth than me, and I need to get more stuff, and I need to make more money. And we're lost in these thoughts that don't really mean anything. What does it mean that I have a name on my shirt? Does it really say anything about my value? We're running after superficial things within the matrix, and it's kind of like it's a spiral that holds people in place. It's kind of like this consensus. You could see it as like this big bucket of water that keeps going around and around with the same thoughts and the same, and it's spiraling and spiraling and getting stronger and reinforcing itself as the people are reflecting back and forth to each other. You can see it nowadays with many superficial things. People are, think that their body is them, and if I have a better body, then I'll be more worth it, or I'll be more acceptable, or and we reflect these thoughts back and forth, especially with Hollywood nowadays. You have to be a mega superstar, and it's superficial. And not everybody has the same body type. It doesn't mean that one body type is better than another body type. Not everybody looks the same, and how boring would it be if everybody looked the same? What is so interesting about humankind is that every single one of us is unique, and every single one of us has something different to show the world, just like the trees. Every single tree has a different flavor. So you start going from tree to tree to see what the flavors are. Some trees I really like, and some trees a little bit less, have less flavor. So every single one, though, is unique in its own. And every single one has something to, is presenting its fruit, is presenting its fruit, or like it's kind of like what us showing our personalities. We're presenting what we have to offer to the world, or also our children, you could say, which is most important. And think about, so many people are lost in the matrix that they don't even pay attention to their children. Their children are their flowers, are their what they brought into the world, what they were given to nourish. And we're so far in the mind buzz that we throw our children in school from when they're 9 months old, and or 3 months old. Even we don't even and we entrust them with total strangers to raise them. I'm not saying anything bad about the strangers, but it's not us raising our own children. We're so far disconnected from our nature. I mean, could you imagine a chimpanzee taking their newborn baby that's 3 months old and throwing it on some other mother so that they could go and, it wouldn't happen. It doesn't happen in other species in nature because it's unnatural. And so as you start rising out of it, you become like this beacon, this light beacon, because every single person inside of them wants to be their own original person, wants to be unique, wants to shine their light. And as you start rising, it's like this mesh network. You start pulling people with you, your surroundings with you. And it's just like this flow of life, how everything is energy. How I was saying yesterday in a video that I did, I was talking about how we are also beacons. I was talking about destiny and purpose, how we are also beacons of light, but we are also witnesses. Oh, they got this little calf running here. Look, it's running up the hill towards me. They're really excited about what they got going on. They started really chasing it. Cute. Because it's a baby. And look, I'm gonna have to show you this. It has a big number burnt inside. See, there's a number on it. Humanity. That's humanity. Take a little calf. See, it's a little baby. And burn a number into its side. And what happened to its tail? I see things like that, and it's just that those are things that show me how far humanity has come out of whack. Take another animal, and cows are, they're giant, gentle creatures, and just because we can burn a number into that cow's side, like mine, how is that? How does that make sense? And as we rise and in this spiritual awakening, and as we come out of the matrix, and as we become into our own, we become like these beacons of light. And it's kind of like this spiral. You create this energy that goes through you. And with this, I want to sum it up because I'm seeing it's getting kind of long. And I made a lot of really good points. And there's a lot of good points that came through in this video. And I want it to be viewed. So the bigger that we become, the more we come into our own, the stronger beacon we become, which means our light shines out much brighter, which means that we bring back to us much more reflection. The more we become strong in ourselves, the more of a magnet we become. It's like the more you emit, the more you draw back. It's just like the money flow. The more you flow in, the more flows out, but it creates this flow of energy, this flow of life. So the more you shine out your light, the more people are drawn to you, and you create this more reflection out. It's like there's like this river, and the broader you make the river, the more that flows through and the more that comes to you naturally. And the more, and it creates that flow that keeps on going. And the more that you reflect out, well, the stronger you become. and the more that flows back to you. And it's kind of like how when you find things and patterns in nature that are perfect, how they're perfect in every way. Because the more that you bring back to you, the more that you draw back to you, the stronger you need to be in order to hold your space. Because when you become quiet within yourself, you draw to you people that are searching for that quiet, people that want to know how to get that quiet on their own. It's like people are start being drawn to you because we're all connected on this network of humanity. And you have to learn how to hold your quiet place, because the people that are drawn to that quiet place are people that have a lot of noise, that want that want the answers, that are looking for the answers, that are looking for that quiet, that are looking. So as we are awakening and as we're rising, you'll start noticing that more and more people are drawn to you, and more people are coming to you for answers, and it becomes kind of like a See, just like I was saying yesterday, it's like a responsibility, but it's a responsibility that kind of happens on its own. It's something that is inherent to your rising on the spiritual awakening. So, and it's like you're pulling out of the dimension of the matrix and you're pulling into this quiet place, into this completely different dimension that is running on the same platform. See, I am located in the same platform as everybody else, all of the rest of humanity. We are in, look at this, cows. There's a few cows out here. The dogs really got them running now. They also have numbers burned into their sides and a logo. They have a logo burnt into their sides. See, it gets me off of focus. So when we start rising into the spiritual awakening, you'll notice that you start passing through different dimensions, and you pass completely out of the dimension that the consensus is living in. And as you pass out of the dimension, it's like energetically you can look in and you see like the ball of the matrix. You kind of see it as like this ball, and you are a little bit you are kind of removed out of it, and as you're removed further and further away, you get this vantage point that you can see everything so clearly, and you see the inner mechanisms and how it works. And because you were in it, you really understand the internal workings of it, and then you can start I'm manipulating it. And manipulating it, I don't mean in a negative way. We are always manipulating everything around us. I make coffee, I'm manipulating the coffee into what I want it to be. I step on the ground, I'm manipulating the ground. So it's kind of just like learning how it's like a clay or a play-doh, that you can start seeing how you squeeze it here and it comes out here, and you can move it over here, and you start playing with it. It's like an energy that you can start manipulating. I think that I'm going to go ahead and sum this up here. So I really appreciate you guys watching, and thank you.